Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Cinematic Trinity, and today we are talking about Paddington in Peru. Let's get into it.
I'd just like to start by saying that I'm very happy to have Kieran back with us today.
Yes.
When was the last time we actually all did an episode together?
It was...
Don't look at me, I'm literally Joker. So actually not that long ago.
Not that long ago. What was
feels
that?
like it's
Start
been
of
a while.
October?
Yeah.
A month ago.
Yeah, we had a 2-week break.
We have had a couple of weeks off though. Yeah.
Which is why we're doing this double bill of talking about the Penguin and then coming straight on to
Very
Paddington
annoying
in Peru.
to have two things in 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
Too much to watch.
I know.
There you go, dear listener. It's only been one thing in the past month for me, so I've got the energy.
Yeah.
I'm
Come
here.
on, bring it then, Kieran. You
front
start
this
us off
review.
then. Come on. What did you think?
Paddington in Peru. Let's start by saying what is it missing? And it is very evidently Sally Hawkins.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Talk about the Sally Hawkins in the room.
I feel like I didn't realise the impact she had on the first two films and how good she was until I watched this, and I was like, yeah, this is all. It feels wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it honestly feels wrong. And the lady, bless her, she's doing her best. She's acting. But it's just not the same as Sally Hawkins.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because Emily Mortimer was really, she was good in her own right, but just not in this Paddington.
Yeah.
If it was, literally anything else, if it was a separated thing, then, I would have enjoyed her as a different Mrs. Brown. But Sally Hawkins was just... I don't know.
Something about her, isn't there?
The first two films, and bear in mind I've only watched them both this year.
Yeah.
She was all the bits work together. They're very much parts of a puzzle. And without her in it, and you try and put someone else in, it's not the same puzzle piece. It doesn't quite fit.
Even though it's about Paddington, she is kind of the glue, because she's the person who allows Paddington into their life and keeps going and keeps advocating for him, whatever. Like, she is the glue.
Yeah.
And when you take her away, it's like, where's that glue? Where's that? And I even miss just the chemistry that she has with Hugh Bonneville. It's like there was no chemistry. I did not believe that they were a couple at all. And I know it's only a kids' film, but because the first two were so fantastic and for kids, but adults love it and blah 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 blah. It's such a shame for it to have gone this way. She was so key, and I think she was written differently as well. It wasn't even she was trying to do an imitation. It was written totally differently, but it just didn't work. The glue was gone.
Well, it was a different director as well. It's not the same guy who did the first two movies.
They should have just left it.
When you especially Paddington 2, that's the best one out of the trilogy. I think, can we all agree
100%.
that is? It's a well-crafted movie. I'm pretty sure, when you look into behind the scenes, you hear stories about just how meticulously crafted every shot and stuff was, and it really shows. It's a charming movie. The humor's really good. I think what you were saying before, the Hugh Bonneville, Sally Hawkins, there's a lot of good jokes about their relationship, but you don't really get that in this movie because it's a completely different director. This film follows Paddington goes to Peru because his Aunt Lucy is missing, so, antics ensue, turns into a bit of a treasure hunt, but he's trying to find his Aunt Lucy. That is the main crux of the movie, but then the Browns are there, to help him in his search.
I mean, they're not really there. And we were joking about it in the back of the car on the way home. We were saying that the son, didn't need to be in it at all, and I was like, the only lines he's got are, no, or look out, or something like that. Literally no substance at all. He's just there to say these lines.
By taking Paddington out of London, it does really hurt the plot, because then it's kind of all right, we're in this foreign location, let's find something for the Browns to do, and then because then there's a good chunk of the movie where they are split up as well for different reasons. Paddington does his own stuff, the Browns are doing their own stuff, but it's not interesting what they're doing.
It's not.
It's kind of just get us back to Paddington.
And there's none of that kind of, it's so funny because he's a bear and he's in London, and they keep making these jokes about the fact that he's a bear. When they try to report him missing, and they're he's a bear, and it's just hilarious. But there's none of that in this film.
There's no fish out of water kind of jokes in this movie.
It's so weird, isn't it? Because I mean, it's not the worst film in the world. It's not awful by any
offensive,
means.
is it?
Yeah. But just when you're comparing it to what came before, it's really hard not to just think, well, that's not as good as the other two. I mean, it never could have been, but it still could have been so much better than it was. Because if you think about Paddington 1 and 2, Paddington 2 is still better than Paddington 1. But by no means is Paddington 1 a bad film. It is an incredible film, and I love it. This could have been the same. Nothing's as good as Paddington 2, but it's still just as good as Paddington 1, and it's still like... but this feels like so separate. I don't know, it's...
If this is like capping off like the Paddington like trilogy, because I mean, you know, it could just stop here, but it wasn't like, you know, I'm not like, oh, you know, what a good ending, what a fitting like send off to Paddington.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, why was this made other than Paddington's really popular, let's do a Paddington movie, and the, you know, the second film is like one of the most critically acclaimed movies of like all time, and like everyone loves Paddington 2. It's kind of like, well, people want more of that. It's like Joker 2. They've done like a Joker 2 similar thing. You know, people like this first thing. Let's do more and more until we can do no more.
That's it.
More.
I think the studios are really missing the point, like on a lot of things these days. They're just seeing, well, that made money, so if we make it again, then it will make money. And it's like, no, you're kind of missing the point there. You've got a different director, so you've got a different creative like passion working on it. So it's not going to deliver the same results. And, you know, that's not always a bad thing to have a new creative vision. But when you've got something as good as Paddington 2 and then you're trying to replicate that, but you're changing the vision, you're changing lots of different things, and it's different different actors, and, you know, it's been a long time since Paddington 2 as well.
I didn't realise how long... When was it? When did it came out?
Don't know, me and you were still working in the cinema when Paddington 2 came out.
I mean, I'll just never forget, like, such a happy memory of me and my mum and dad watching, like, those films for the first time, and then we all went to the cinema to see Paddington 2, and it was in the Carlton Suite, and we were all, like, in tears, like, at the end. And I was like, what a core memory for me.
Whereas,
and now it's, like, ruined.
Whereas for this movie, your dad actually fell asleep partway through.
Literally snoring, and it got to a really quiet bit. He was still snoring. I had to nudge him.
I know. So if that doesn't speak volumes about the, you know, just the nature of this movie, but it's not all bad. I still feel like, you know, you look at it, I feel like people who made it still had a good time. I think the actors still had a good time. You know, there's new people in the story, like Olivia Colman was good. I liked Antonio Banderas. Like, I feel like he can do no wrong. Like Antonio Banderas, I feel like he's got a good amount of charm. Only because I view him as Puss in Boots, you know, plus like...
Puss in Boots.
Yeah, in this, it's like, you know, he's got just his voice and stuff. He's sounding really old now. Do you know what I think? Like, in his voice.
He is old.
Yeah, I don't know how old he is, but it's just...
He's got to be like 60.
61.
Because I was just like, you could definitely feel it in this movie, because you're just like, the bears in the Peru and the treasure, you know, it's like... It's almost a struggle for him to get his words out. But, you know, he was really good.
64. I said 61.
64.
What did you say?
I just said 60s.
Yeah.
But
you didn't make a guess, Michael.
They're good additions. I mean, Olivia Colman gets like a weird song number. I didn't like that.
Yeah, I really didn't like that. And I almost wish that I was sat next to you, Michael, so that I could be like, I really don't like
Would
this.
you let out like a, you know...
Well, I kind of was just like this.
I would have expected you to do, you know, like Marge Simpson when she's like, like a disapproving like groan. But yeah, me and Kieran looked at each other and be like, okay, this is weird.
I mean, yeah, it's a kids film, isn't it?
I mean, you know, and
the thing, this feels like a kids film. Like the
we're going
first
too
two
critical, aren't
don't
we?
feel like a kids film.
Yeah.
Like you can't, like, it's like if you made. I don't know. Can you compare it to like Shrek? But yeah, maybe people could say it's like Shrek and then Shrek 2 and then Shrek 3 is rubbish. But I quite like Shrek 3, so I can't really compare it to that. But I feel like other people could compare it to that who don't like Shrek 3.
I mean, also we are picking apart a children's movie. We're being very.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. This is
just
for children.
I was so gutted. I really
know.
wanted to love it, and when it started, and he was a little teeny tiny bear, I was like, oh, this is so lovely, and I was like, oh, it's Paddington. I felt so happy to be back in the cinema with Paddington.
Yeah.
And then it just wasn't the film that I wanted it to be.
Like,
I was just so disappointed.
I still think Paddington was good. Like, you know, Ben Winshaw's great as Paddington.
I love his voice. Like, I'd
yeah.
like him to read me a bedtime story.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Like, he still puts in a good... It's not like he's phoning it in to be like, all right, got to be Paddington again. Let's go, you know. But he's good. He's just like,
He looks so
continues it.
scruffy. Have you seen him? Like, he's
Yeah,
got, like,
doing the
a really
interviews,
big
yeah,
beard and
yeah.
stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh,
Let himself go.
no, I really want to love
just
him.
really
but
want
I
him
don't.
to be a little bear behind the camera as well.
Yeah,
You want
I
Paddington to be
know.
real.
Yeah.
But I think as far as like general points go, so I think to cap it off then, there are some good bits, good performances, some of the charm is there from the original films, but it just doesn't come together to be as good as the old films. Paddington 2 is still the best one. This hasn't surpassed it. It hasn't even like slightly lived up to it. It's just a sequel that exists. Could we ever watch it again? Probably not, but we would rewatch.
I probably won't watch it again.
No.
I'd probably watch the first two and then
Yeah,
just
exactly.
stop.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, is there any final thoughts for you guys?
Yeah, I think one bit of the film which I actually, I found myself kind of smiling and really enjoyed was right at the end where they went back to the prison and it was Hugh Grant, and then they redid the scene where Paddington was introducing the prisoners, but he's introducing them all as the bears, and they're all different stations.
Do you know what?
Tube
It
stations
was
in London.
worth watching it just for that, because Hugh Grant is just captivating.
Yeah.
Honestly, do you not just think he is fantastic? Like, he's been in so many great things recently. Really want to see him in Heretic. He's just he's just fantastic.
We won't even
Do you not
do
think?
like a spoiler warning for that, because it's like, it's the end credits. Plus, it's not even like he's a main player, is it? It's just
an end credit scene.
That's almost like a weird testament to this film's quality when the post-credit scene with Hugh Grant being on screen for like
thing.
2 minutes is the best thing about the entire movie.
It was the best thing.
Although we said, like, because he pictures like a new stage show and it's just Hugh Grant being like, picture this, a bear. And, he goes Goldilocks and the Three Bears, isn't it? And he's just like,
yeah.
it's like a group of like 10 bears in front of me. He's just like, you, come here.
And the bear's like this.
That's so
Just
good.
literal, that little fight. It could have been a short film.
Yeah.
They should have just done a short film and it was just that. Because all the bears get introduced and it's like Waterloo and he's got a little hat on,
Yeah.
or what, I can't remember.
They're all like saying hi.
Blue line or whatever, I don't know.
Was it Clapham North and Clapham South?
Yeah. And there's a little baby bear, and I just think that's lovely. You know,
Yeah.
that is what I want to see.
Well, me and Kieran said we just want to see like the stage show
Yeah,
that he
literally
pitched.
just
Yeah,
like a half an hour special, and it's literally just Hugh Grant, some bears, and Paddington just doing the stage.
I'd
honestly,
watch that.
like when we watched Monsters Inc. the other day, and we thought this was like one of them. This was a Mandela effect for us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because we watched it and we were 100% expecting to see the put that thing back where it came from. Also, help me play, because that's in the credits, don't you think? Well, it's not in the credits on Disney Plus, but it is in the credits on like a
DVD,
UK DVD release. So we got it up on YouTube and watched it. And I was like, this is great.
Yeah, it's
I'm
weird,
loving this. They should have just done that, but as you say, on its standalone short thing.
Yeah. I think, that was very weird. That was a weird experience. Good film, Monsters Inc., but that really threw me off, that whole...
When it didn't come up in the end credits.
Yeah,
we were both
threw me
really
off.
confused, weren't we?
Yeah.
We were like, what's we've been lied to.
No, exactly.
Literally, it's the Mandela effect, isn't it? Although
Yeah.
it's kind of not true, because it was there in the UK release, so we probably watched it on DVD, and that's why we think it's there, blah, 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 who cares, whatever.
We
It
were
should still
expecting
be on Disney.
something,
I'm
and it
sorry,
didn't
but
happen.
if Disney owns it, it should be on Disney Plus. I'm sorry.
It'd be like if you watch
Why
Toy
am I
Story
paying
2.
so much money for it?
Like Toy Story 2, it's like all the bloopers bits, or like
Yeah.
Bugs Life. It's like, if that wasn't there,
If it
you'd be
wasn't
like,
there.
what was this? I've been lied to. Did I just
100%.
imagine this?
Yeah.
Anyway, to go back to Paddington 3, the film we're forced to talk about, what would your scores for this be if we bring up the review scale right now?
Yeah, I think we've just said it's all right, because for the other two, if somebody said to me, I've not seen either of the first two Paddington films, I'd be like, right, stop what you're doing, watch them right this second. Like, I don't care how important it is, watch those films, because they are literally brilliant and they are genius and everybody in the world should watch them. But with this, I'd just be like,
It's like
watch it if you want to, if you really like the first two. But honestly, like, you can probably just give it a miss, to be honest.
I was to say, it's like if someone brought up like, didn't they make a third Paddington film? And you'd be like,
Yeah,
it's all right though.
Yeah.
I refuse to admit the existence of Paddington in Peru.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What
I
do you
think
think, Kieran?
Yeah, it's all right. Maybe if it was standalone and you didn't have those first two, and this was the first one, then
Yeah,
maybe
that's
it
a
would
good
be.
point.
Maybe you'd enjoy it a little
Yeah.
bit more. Maybe it's the legacy that is left is why this one is less enjoyable on the whole. But yeah, so maybe what you should do is watch Paddington in Peru first, and then watch 1 and 2
As like
back.
a prequel.
And
like
then
a
you'll see
prequel
them
film.
like going up in brilliantness.
That would be so weird watching that as a prequel movie because it's like, oh, who's that prisoner guy that Paddington said hi to? What's the story there? It's like, oh, find
Maybe
out.
they
in
should
Paddington
have just
2.
done a prequel about him
In
being
Peru.
a little bear cub, learning English, stuff like that. I would have liked that with Aunt Lucy and Uncle Pastuza. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit because he's always like, my Aunt Lucy, I love my Aunt Lucy,
dead,
where
isn't
is
he?
she? And he never mentions his Uncle Pastuzo. What about him?
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I felt that when we were watching it because I can't
Did
remember.
you really? Were you
I can't
genuinely
remember
thinking that?
exactly what the line was, but like Paddington was saying something about his family, and it's just
Yeah.
like my family here is just Aunt Lucy.
She brought me up. She raised me.
It's
It's
like,
like, what
what-
about Uncle Pastuzo?
what about Pastuzo?
He's the one who gave you the hat. He's the
He's-
one who told you to put a marmalade sandwich in your hat. Come
He
on.
wouldn't
He's,
have known about
uh,
Pastuzo because
he's-
Pastuzo
yeah.
was on top. Well, this was in the trailer because I watched it before watching Paddington 2 in view. Humble brag. But like Pastuzo was holding like a rope where Aunt Lucy was. I think
Yeah.
she was on like a swing or something, and then like he kind of let it down so that she could actually grab Paddington.
Yeah.
Well, and they didn't say anything about that.
I know.
Well, he's 6 feet under, all right, but also he is
Michael.
voiced by Michael Gambon, who is also 6 feet under. He's also passed away. He played him, didn't he? So it's not like they're going to bring Michael Gambon back to be like,
No. I
Yeah.
don't mean bring him back from the dead. I
Yeah.
just mean acknowledge his existence and say that he raised you.
Yeah,
you don't,
maybe
somebody
it's-
doesn't die and you think, oh, that was it. They never existed.
Maybe it's so traumatic for Paddington he just can't acknowledge that Pastuzo existed. Maybe.
I don't think
I
that's it.
don't think Paddington would feel.
Aunt
Or-
Lucy
or-
mentions his name once.
Or it's lazy writing and they're just like...
Well, it is lazy.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. So
Let's go into some quick spoilers now before we wrap up.
just talk about the main thing.
Yeah, here's your spoiler warning.
Spoilers ahead.
So Eldorado, is Eldorado Uncharted or not?
Is Eldorado Uncharted? There is
Uncharted 1.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's yes.
It's also, the Road to Eldorado,
Well,
the
I
famous
know.
DreamWorks movie. And just,
Eldorado.
it's a very-
the Elton John one. Yeah.
It's a very like commonly used thing anytime anyone
Yeah.
wants to go to
Classic,
South
yeah.
America.
Classic.
But that's the
yeah.
thing, isn't it? It's basically in looking for Aunt Lucy, Antonio Banderas is also looking for Eldorado, which Aunt Lucy is also looking for.
Everybody's searching for Eldorado for various different reasons.
So they all like
aren't
cross
they?
paths and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Olivia Colman's a bad guy, which I kind of saw coming as soon as she came into it.
I
but-
mean, I literally, as we walked into the cinema, and me and Mum was saying, she was like, "Oh, Olivia Colman's in it," although she's the bad guy, isn't she? And I was like, "Yeah, she is," and obviously
Lo and
she
behold,
is,
yeah.
So, yeah.
But they all culminate, but then that's when they find out Eldorado is,
an orange grove.
because of course
So
it is.
that's where the whole marmalade and oranges thing comes from. So they grow it's all bears. And they are looking after these oranges, which I must say I quite like that. That's cute, that's adorable. The fact that it's just loads of oranges and loads of bears, lovely. I love that. But
All I could think
That's
was
it.
the implications of Antonio Banderas has this gold fever, madness. All his ancestors died looking for gold and stuff like that. It's just all these people died to look for some oranges. So when you really look into it, especially his the conquistador Spanish ancestor killed a bunch of his men kind of thing.
Yeah.
Looking for it's this just for a bunch of oranges. So what are you
Yeah, I
doing?
know.
I'll tell you what, that little sequence where it was showing where all of them were dying was
That was-
actually really funny.
Yeah,
That was so
Because
good.
the bit at the end, what was it, the priest with all the people and they were singing, going down in a sinking sandpit.
Yeah.
That was very good.
And the Amelia Earhart female,
Yeah,
it's Antonio
yeah.
Banderas and drag kind of thing. It
Yeah.
looks really funny.
That is really funny.
That's good. But just when you think about it's just a weird
They're all
thing.
looking for oranges.
But it kind of you almost think because Paddington meets up with his tribe. That's where he actually came from, as the Eldorado Bears. So it's kind of is he going to stay here or is he going to go back with the Brown family? And it's bait and switch, because he's just oh, Mrs. Brown, I've been very thankful to you for taking me in, so would you mind if I came back with you? And it's oh, he's coming back.
Yeah.
So then he goes and lives with the Browns again. So it's that's one of the moments where Sally Hawkins' like absence really hits, because
Yeah.
it's like they try and like make Mrs. Brown be the one who's like, oh, Paddington, oh, I'm gonna miss him so much, but then it like flashbacks to the first movie and it's like Emily Mortimer like dubbing over Olivia
Redubs.
Colman's voice. It's kind of like
Olivia
you can't.
Colman.
Oh yeah, sorry. Sally Hawkins. You can't, that's me trying to erase her there, Jesus. But it's, it's like you can't get rid of Sally Hawkins. Like you can't just like superimpose Emily Mortimer to be like, I was in the first Paddington film all along. It's like it doesn't hit because you've not been with Paddington for like 2 other movies. You've literally just been thrown in here, and it's like, you weren't there.
Yeah, I know.
Your character was there, but you weren't there.
It was like, why do you care? You don't care. You're not Mrs. Brown. Who are you? You're just an impersonator.
Hashtag not my Mrs. Brown.
I knew you were going to say that.
But yeah, I if you just compare it to like, because all the Paddington films have this similar moment where it's like a heartfelt thing, and in Paddington 2 where he's under the water and Sally Hawkins is there, the amount of emotion you got just from her face was way more than anything they conveyed here.
Yeah.
And I think that wasn't an acting thing from Emily Mortimer. I think that was a direction thing. But there's so much you can do with just like your facial expressions, and like acting is an art form.
Yeah.
You've got so much at your disposal, just use it. And that's what they need to.
What are we going to see you performing in next? You'll be up for the Oscar next year. What with all these acting tips that you've got?
Well, who knows? Who knows what I've got
You've
cooking?
got no rebuttal to that, Kieran.
Why have I been off for a month? Well, we'll find out.
To be fair, it's not even that bit in Paddington 2 that gets me when I watch it. It's when Aunt Lucy comes to like
the bit
visit.
at the end,
That's how that gets me every time. It's just like, oh, bless him. How happy he is.
There's just so many, like we quote like Paddington 2, like with Knuckles and with Knuckles McGinty with a capital M. Like it's just so funny. Like what am I going to quote from Paddington 3? Nothing.
Marmalade. That's Paddington 2.
Marmalade.
Yeah, true. There's not really any quotable lines, is there? I think because again, Antonio Banderas is more just the cadence of his voice I can hear on my head, but nothing he actually, apart from when he gets hit in the nuts, and it's just him being like, it's just in slow motion. Isn't it? It's just like that happens in slow motion. But that's like literally it. I think again he's funny in it, but I can't think of anything that he like says.
Yeah. It's just not. And I think they try because in Paddington 2, Hugh Grant has all his like alter egos, doesn't he?
Yeah. And
he's like talking like them, so he's like talking in a Scottish accent one moment because he's Macbeth or whatever, and blah 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 blah. So they almost try and recreate that with Antonio Banderas. Antonio Banderas, sorry, I said that really like Spanishy. They try and recreate that with him having all these like ancestors that he plays. Dresses up as, and they're talking to him. So they try and like recreate that almost, but it's like, stop trying to like why don't you just do something completely new? You didn't have to have these alter egos.
Yeah, and at the climax to that whole story about like his gold madness, it just gets solved really quickly, and like they all just like he kind of just says, oh, I'm not going to go for the gold, I'm going to love my daughter instead, and they all just disappear. It's kind of like, right, well that's how you deal with that, I guess. There's that problem gone. You're now just a good guy. In the end, I just thought of one line he does when it's just like, the bear will lead the way and you are a bear, and it's just like him being like absolutely mad because he's just like, that's what the knots and the little bracelets say, and he's just like,
oh yeah, I can't wait to quote that later. In what context am I going to use
well,
that?
it was more funny. There was another scene.
You're a bear.
There was a few like out of
You're
context.
going to regret saying that one day.
There was a few out of context stuff like that. Like me and Kieran kept looking at each other when it was that little bear statue, and every time Paddington saw it, the bear just went. Just opened his mouth and be like, oh. It's just the dumbest thing, just out of context.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, I think honestly there's not much more to really say. They find El Dorado, they go back to London, and then his Peruvian relatives come and visit him, and that's what leads to Hugh Grant in the prison. No one really does anything. And the Browns are just fine. The kids are doing their own thing, boring.
Yeah, literally boring. Nothing to them. Because even in the second one, it's like, she's got her newspaper, hasn't she? And that's how they like. That's because
she's a university student, or she's applying for university, and then the other guy is a gamer. Spends all day in his room and uses his inventions, and then he realises he should just go to World Trade Fairs, which is a phrase
I wish you'd realise that.
Gaming forever, mate.
I ain't making nothing.
I ain't doing nothing. Although, like, World Trade Fair, that's literally, I've never heard that phrase in, like, a movie for ages. That's
a very American thing.
Yeah, that's something that's been lost on me. I was like, wow, that sounds really boring.
Oh, I've got to work on this in my science project. That's
Yeah.
It's like
It's
we
in
don't
the
really have
UK.
science projects.
Yeah.
Well, we've not been to school for many a year. It probably might be different now, but I imagine. Well, I mean, there's no funding, so they're probably not having science.
All right,
projects
let's not get all
every other day.
political in this.
Come on.
Ooh, it's not wrong.
What's Paddington going to do to fix the economy? That's the real question.
Paddington for president or prime minister,
Oh,
or both.
oh.
World leader,
There we go.
Earth leader for Paddington. 100%.
I've got to raise this cup. This is probably the best thing to come out of that movie was this £3
We got
cup
the last
that we
two,
bought.
didn't we?
Yeah, so Paddington could watch his own movie. I wanted to almost turn him away partway through the film to be like, don't watch this. And then I didn't, but
Oh.
funny.
I'm traumatised now. That's the first thing I ever saw.
Well, that's the first thing that Paddington,
This
the
Paddington
statue
ever
ever
saw
saw was
was
his own film.
Yeah.
But not a good one.
But not the good one. Yeah.
You know what, guys? I think that's a good place to stop slagging off this movie.
I know, yeah, we did,
I'm
whatever.
sorry, Paddington. You just didn't do a good
I
film this
know.
time around.
We still love Paddington, and I'm just, do you know what? Let's watch Paddington 1 and 2, and then let's watch the Paddington, kids TV show, because we like that, don't we?
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll watch that just as a bit of, we've had a stressful day, things were a bit rubbish. Let's watch The Adventures of Paddington. Just a couple of it, like when he had that camera. Oh no, I can't even talk about it. Do you remember watching
Yes,
it?
I
And we were
remember,
like,
yes.
oh, because he was like, I must remember to take my camera so that I can take a photo of the meteor shower or something like that. And he's looking at the meteor shower. And I'm like, no, Paddington, you're supposed to be taking a picture of it.
That was
And he
me.
nearly we were so engrossed. He nearly forgot to take the picture, and then he did forget. And he was like, oh no, I always forgot. And we were like, no, he's going to do. What idiots we are, honestly. But it's just brilliant, honestly.
Yeah.
Just
I
brilliant.
feel like I'm missing out on something here.
You know what?
show.
You're missing out. You are. You just need to get a grip and start watching The Adventures of Paddington and stop being an idiot. You should watch it with
And there's
us.
that
Come
one where
on.
he gets the stage fright and when he tries to do performances. Good episode that.
Yeah, just adorable.
So yeah, go watch Paddington 1 and 2 and then The Adventures of Paddington, but don't watch Paddington in Peru.
Yeah, just leave it.
But-
And plus, let's just call it Paddington 3. Like, I actually can't be bothered.
I was going to say it's the 3Ps, but it's not Paddington Pin Peru, is it? PIP, Paddington in Peru. I think we're going. I feel like we're getting our own version of the gold madness. Just Paddington 3 madness. But you know what? We'll leave it there. I feel like the next time you'll probably hear from us might be Gladiator 2. Me and Tulip are actually off on holiday. We're going to the village where Hot Fuzz was filmed, so maybe we'll talk about
I
Hot
don't know if
Fuzz.
you can call it a village, babe. If you can't call where we live a village, then
Isn't
you
the whole
certainly
thing
can't
in-
call Wells a village.
Isn't the whole-
town.
I thought the whole thing in Hot Fuzz is that it won Village of the Year.
Babe, that's a film.
I don't.
It's not a village, it's a town. It's 100% a town.
Well, why are we going?
Well, shut up. You think of somewhere to go then. You come up with all the ideas.
Nah.
You
true.
do all the
Daddy, stop
organising.
fighting!
Let's go to Peru instead.